Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You catch us aboard the 737, about to depart here from San Francisco International. All checks are done on a routine flight to Las Vegas, and we're short for, say, something like 12 tons of fuel. I don't know, I didn't really plan it properly, but a hypothetical situation. We accidentally, instead of loading 12,000 kilos we're operating in today, accidentally loaded 1,200 kilos or thereabouts. So you can see there we're very low on fuel. FMC already gave us a low fuel indication, but we just ignored that out. And so here we are lining up with the runway now. We'll assume we've been cleared for takeoff.
Approaching 10 left.
So put transponder and strobe lights on. Weather radar on. We'll put the landing lights on. We've been cleared for takeoff. Everything else is pretty much there, so we'll start the clock as well. It's actually the ET, it's the elapsed time, not the chrono, but whatever.
On runway 10 left.
10 left we've got, and we are clear for takeoff today. We shall be chasing the Intel Sehi 4 departure. You know what, I forgot to put the auto throttle on, so you know what, I'll do that now. We'll just ignore that little mistake there. Oh, unusual flight director there, the old school one. 8 knots, check. A little bit of wind here today. I'll turn that down just a tad so I don't got to shout. That's better.
V1 rotate.
Rotating. A V2 of 155.
Positive rate.
Gear up. I love it when there's a bit of turbulence. Just puts a bit of life into the whole thing. Check. We'll switch over to the LNAV. VNAV. And flaps 1. Almost leveling off there. Bit aggressive. Let's trim back a tad. Flaps in. We'll put the autopilot on. And with flaps up, we'll turn the gear lever off. RTO off. And runway turn-offs and taxi light off. Engine start switches can come off. Logo lights off. And yeah, everything else there looks good. Smoking signs auto release the cabin crew. We'll push the range out there. Top climb for the city is 19,000 feet, so quite a nice climb here out of KSFO. Flight level 190, so there's not much at all stopping us in between. We've got no restriction on the alt keeping us down. We've got city here where we need to be 5,000 or above, where we're easily going to manage that. I tell you what though, we are quite light. You see, it's about 4 miles away. If it was in a heavy loaded 7.4 or something, I'm not sure it would make that climb. Might have to ask for a permission to fly lower. So it's racing up now, and you can see the fuel dipping there into the yellow. I actually thought it burned through the fuel a little bit quicker than it is doing. See there, fuel flow is 3 1/4 tons or so aside. That fuel flow is going to decrease the higher we get, but once we pitch over at 10,000 and accelerate, that'll increase again momentarily. So I'm just going to go along like we're completely ignoring it altogether. See what happens at the end of the day. Little bit of turbulence rocking us around. Let's get a PAX view. Very nice. Bit of wing flex there. And there we go. Flight level. Well, it's not flight level here, is it? Because, of course, America's flight levels don't start until 18,000-ish. 180. So there we go. Nosing over, accelerating now at 10,000. So back to the fuel flow, 2.98. Actually quite a high climb speed today, 307 knots. That's actually real high for the 7.3. Trim wheel going over. Fuel flow still about 3 tons a side. That's just going to get less and less as we climb. I was expecting to see it increase slightly once we nosed over, but apparently not. Apparently 55 knots of airspeed makes no difference at all to the fuel flow, even though the thrust is the same. No idea if that's correct, but it doesn't seem right to me. And now you can see fuel flow dropping away quite substantially. Look at that rate of climb. Very high. Of course, even though we got 25 tons of payload, which is quite a lot for a 7.3, the complete lack of fuel is allowing us to climb like a homesick angel on the way up. We'll assume now we're being cleared up to our cruise, which is going to be 33,000 for today. See there, about 300 kilos a side. Yeah, I really thought that would burn through a bit quicker. I mean, I've been flying the 7.4 Classic a bit, and that really does go through fuel. That would you know, it uses a ton or two of fuel, at least, just on from start up to taxi into the airport. Uses more fuel in its first 2 or 3 minutes of flight than an aircraft like this would use on the entire flight. Granted, it's typically used for longer flights as well, but just to make the point, that thing really does guzzle. Alright, we'll push this out. Got the old VORs tuned in there. That's where we took off from. See, that's now about 29 nautical miles away. We've got Oakland on the other side there, coming up to 27. Got Tok in there, which has not yet arrived. Interesting here, by the way. We've got, look at this, we've got 33,000 in, and that is what we're climbing to. There you see it, cruise, flight level 330. And you can see here, this band is where it's predicting we will get to 33,000 feet. But here is the top of climb, where it's also where the FMC is predicting we're going to get to 33,000 feet. And the discrepancy between the two is because the FMC knows we're not going to be able to maintain this rate of climb all the way up to 33,000. Whereas the aircraft is just saying, if you climb at whatever that is, you're going to get to 33,000, where this green line is. Okay, so we got a master caution on for the low fuel. We'll just clear that out, and here we see we're in the flight levels now. So we'll just change that over as well to standard. Altimities were 3023 at departure. I just put some custom weather on because I just wanted it to rock and roll a bit. There's all this static weather, it's a bit boring. And looking forward, we see what I term the United Squares of America, which is that the mainland is just covered in millions of these squares, all with a square road around them. I couldn't believe it till I looked on Google Maps over the Midwest, and it stretches for hundreds and hundreds of miles in every direction, just what must be millions of squares. Certainly hundreds and thousands of these squares, and I'm not talking about in the game here, I'm talking about in real life Google Maps, of course. And someone replied to me and said, yeah, that's the way they divvied up land back in the day. Or maybe it is. All right, so we'll run through these checklists. All of that done after takeoff. Cabin pressure, and that there looks great. Start switches are off, auto brake off, flaps are in and off, altimeter's set, and so that's it. And again, we're just ignoring this. You can see it's down to about 170 per side, slightly more on the right engine, which you start the right engine first, so why would that use less fuel? And it's because the APU draws fuel out the left. And I think that's it. So I've been flying, coming up to 10 minutes since we hit the toga switches. 10 minutes since I realised that I hadn't put the auto throttle on when we hit the togas. And in that time, it's only used about, well, let's have a look. We've got the fuel used here. Let's pull this switch down. Careful not to reset it. And yeah, just over half a ton aside, and again, are operating in kilos today. I almost always operate on pounds, doesn't matter what the aircraft. I just like pounds, whether it's for payload, for fuel, all that stuff, just pounds. But it's kind of like feet for altitude. You know, we don't go meters, it's feet. It's for some reason, just imperial seems better for aviation, at least for me. Knots in speed, you know, it's all a little bit weird when we start doing things in kilometers an hour and meters and kilos. Then we know the metric system is here to stay. And I do prefer the metric system, don't get me wrong, for life in general, but when it comes to aviation, don't know why, just prefer it this way. And I've forgotten to change them over since the last major Zibo release. So we've got about 200 kilos of fuel left. And if I remember right, these things don't measure right to the floor. There's like a tiny little bit of fuel left when these read 0, just like in a car or whatever. So we'll have to see what that's like. So we cross through flight level 25-0. 3-3, still climbing at 307 indicated. Not entirely sure when that switches over to the Mach. See, it's Mach 767, so got 0.025 or so left on the Mach before that switches over. Question is, will we make it before we run out of fuel? Well, it's getting there quite quickly, so we may well do. And we'll see what happens once we run out of fuel. Have to get ready to don the oxygen mask, and I believe it's just a case of clicking and holding down. Press to test. Well, we don't want to press to test, and not entirely sure. There is the, seems to be. Okay, we'll try pressing it there. 50 kilos left aside, and we're about to switch over, I think. There's 7.6. Fairly close to the barber pole, and we're still in the climb. Expecting the climb rate to increase somewhat once we reach this max speed. Still on the 307. 307, there's 767, so we should be switching over. We'll keep an eye. There it is. Switching over to the Mach. And there we go, you can see the stick pulling back slightly. Vertical speed starting to increase again. And the indicated airspeed will slowly start dropping away at this point. Intel there. About 55 miles off our nose. That's our first waypoint. And the last waypoint of the SID. If we have a little look here. There we go. 98.6 mile leg here, but I don't imagine we're going to get there. We've got Kilo Mike Echo Romeo off our left side. That's probably going to be our divert point at water. And it looks like we've got autopilot failure here. We've lost engine 1. Master caution. We've still got engine 2. And engine 2's died. And with that, we've got cautions. Close the power. We know that's gone.
1,000 to go.
And pilot's side only. I've got no trim control. So what I need to do is manually spin this wheel back myself. So I'm going to... just to try and ease off that descent rate. There's we go. First officer's side is dead. Pilot's side only, operating off the battery route. And yeah, it's a divert now. Alternate destination. Can we put one in this way? Nearest airports. So here we got the distance. KMER, that's the one we're going for. Can we go divert there? Drag required. Whoa, still got that speed issue again. Let's pull back on the stick. This is actually really hard without any sort of autopilot at all. Let's try winding that back. There we go. That's more like it. Can't start the APU. Oh, can't start the APU anyway. Got no fuel. Now, I don't know. Usually the APU has a bit of fuel within it anyway, but I don't know how that is being done. All right, so we're speed reducing now. That's nice. I'm going to shut off the engine switches because we know there's no fuel anyway. So we'll turn that off. We'll get rid of Tara. It's just TA only. Can hear the engines rotating. We've got the con here. They're off. Turn the fuel pumps off. There's now in there any out. Yeah, I'm pretty much dead there. Let's pull back a little bit more. Let's have a look on the airport page. Here's KMER here, about 10 miles off our 11 o'clock route. Legs. Other. Can we do this? KMER. I've forgotten how to do the divert mid-flight. Do you know what? We'll just do it this way. KMER. That's like kilo for America and then MER for emergency. And that's what we've got. We'll put the part arrive. Just see what we've got. ILS 3-1 looks like it's going to be. Don't really care about transition. 3-1 is going to put us landing from the right to the left there. So we're more or less right over top now. We'll centralize that. Actually push the range out a bit. So on battery power, falling through the flight levels momentarily. I'm just going to press that now to release my workload somewhat when we're lower down. I'm going to try starting the APU. We'll see if there is any fuel in there. Again, it does draw fuel from the tanks, but usually it can run a bit even without fuel. Fuel pumps on. I don't know exactly how long it is. It's a few minutes. It's not supposed to do it because it doesn't do the APU any good when it does actually run out. We'll trim back a bit more. Manual again. No trim switches. All right, let's try starting up the APU. We'll see what happens. Holding it down. And doing this actually takes a huge lot of charge out of the battery on the aircraft. You can see there absolutely nothing happening whatsoever. Let's have a quick look actually what the electricals look like. So yeah, we got the BAS discharge, APU gen, so nothing coming in from Gen 1 APU or Gen 2, which is what we'd expect. Obviously ground power is going to be 0 as well, so we've got the inverters here. So this is all coming off the battery. Now you can see we're pulling 17 amps out of that. We expect to see the numbers gradually declining on the way down. You can see your dampers kicked off, and IRS number 2. We've got the overheats here. We'll get rid of those. Probe heat on first officer's side's gone. Of course, we've got no packs either. We've been looking not to hear the alt warning yet. I'm guessing it's just a gradual depressurization of the cabin, and that's why. But I did aim to descend pretty quick. So the aim of the game now for me is to try and sort of turn the aircraft in such a way that we're in line with the runway at the right sort of distance at the right time. And again, we've got about, I think it's about 15-20 minutes of battery, which we ain't going to get more glide time out of that anyway. See, we got quite a strong vertical speed. What's FMC talking about now? Unable to the required nav performance. Okay, that's fine. We're not bothered about that. So this is just saying that the FMC is unable to determine the position of the aircraft very reliably, which is fine. So you can see we're supposed to be 3,000 or above that waypoint, which is VOR there. I think it was, my eyesight's going a bit Hotel Yankee Papa. But of course, 3,000 or above, we're well above that for now, and that point is about 10 miles off our nose. We've got about 10,000 feet to play with at that point, and we're coming in what would be like an extended base leg here. Speed 250, still no altitude alarm, which is good. And if we have a little look here, we can see that there still is quite a healthy pressure differential. Altitude inside the cabin is about 6,000 feet, so no problems there what at all. We'll get below 10 before that cabin altitude's going to go above 10. Alright, so let's have a little look here. We've got a tiny bit of time. K, EMR, EMR. What do you mean no? Have I put that in wrong? It's KMER, that's why. KMER. And we're just interested on the approach for ILS 31. There we go. By the way, oh, not that one, sorry. Let's just have a quick look at runway length as well. Oh, it's almost 12,000 foot, so this is what we want. Here we are, ILS 109.5. Not that we're going to be flying it vertically, but pop that in. And runway heading is 306. There we go. All right, so on the approach, we've got flight directors only. We'll begin turning to the right quite comfortably now. Got the trim in quite nice at 250-ish. We'll save the lights due to power. You can see it's drawing there. About 23 volts left on the DC. And turbulence starting to take effect. A little bit of rocking again. Airport should be off our right, and there it is. So it's still a little bit high. Now, I've done this failure where I'll do a corkscrew to the left thinking, oh, it's a 270 turn to the left and that'll bleed my height off nice. Don't think I've done it in this aircraft, but I've done it in plenty of others, and you come out surprisingly low. You lose so much height doing the turns, and perhaps somebody can let us know exactly how much on a completely dead engine worth of height you lose in one turn. So what I'm going to do this time is S-turn it all the way in. And yeah, approach speed. We got something, flaps 30, 148, just something to shoot for. And yeah, we'll keep this S-turn going. Don't want to excessively bank angle, although it's not our top priority, but speed a little high. I think what I'm going to do is trim back even more. And there's runway again. See, ideally, I really wanted to do that 270 corkscrew, but I've had too many bad experiences doing that. And I'm going to have a bit of a difficulty with these S-turns, and bank angle now is a bit out the window, but let's drop the range down a tad. You can see the runway just off the left edge of that circle as we're about to shoot through the center line again. I'm just thinking, if I do aggressive S-turns, I'm sure I can just about make it. Actually, do you know what? I might be brave, because it just seems like we're far too high. I don't know. To 270 or not, you see, I can't go round. I'll tell you what, let's try doing this way. We'll pull up, lead off the speed, start the roll, quite strong. Wow, listen to those engines revving up and down. Well, revving's the wrong word. You can hear the rotation though as the speed slows down and picks up. All right, flaps 1, the slats. Oh, don't say we don't got flaps. I never thought about that. You can see we've got the transit light on. I'm not sure if they're working or if that's just the indicator that's not, so I'll tell you what, we'll switch to flaps 5 and see if we get anything at all. Let's have a little look. Oh, system page ain't working either. Fair enough. Let's dump the gear now. Add a little bit of drag into the equation. Still ways too high. Can always put in a little bit of slip. Speed's bleeding off quite nice. Yeah, we're ways too high. So what do I do now? I'm way out of position. I should have done that corkscrew. And of course the gear is now down. Do you know what? Left of it. Do you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna regret this. I know I'm gonna regret this. Look at that barber pole for the stall. Oh, come on. I'm riding that barber pole. Come on, round you come. Keep coming. I should have done this 3,000, 4,000 feet ago. But looking at that site, there was no way I was going to get on the airfield. And here's now. Hang on. There's a chance yet. I shouldn't have put... Oh, look at my glide slope indicator. Roll the fire trucks. I've... Oh, dear. Right, let's kick it straight. I don't want to use too much roll because that wing might stall. We're right on the practice stalling. Oh, we're down. Brakes. I should have done the brace for impact and all that, but I forgot. I'm standing on the brakes. Not much pressure in there. We're carving up through fields, sliding across road of traffic there. Hopefully there was no cars. She's not stopping. Oh. Please stay seated with your seatbelt fastened as if. Oh, we managed to avoid. Parking brake on. So we got an evac horn on this, and if we do, where is it? Have a wonderful night, and remember, she's talking like it was a normal landing. Oh well. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. Blame whoever. All right, well, you know, to me that's a fail, right? I missed the runway, and the sad thing was I knew the corkscrew was a recipe for disaster, and there, look at that. Once again, it's like we've stopped and we're like 2 or 3 miles short of the runway. We touched down maybe 4 or 5 miles short, and we were out of position as well. However, you saw before I entered that corkscrew, if I'd have tried and landed, no way am I stopping on the tarmac. Again, I was too I was just too much out of position. All right, until next time, take care. Bye-bye.